Hi everyone, I've just put together the free Christmas mini course that used to be on my website and loaded it up. I have put in a few updates for version 9, but before we get started I'd like to give out a huge thanks to Marianne and Megan, who since my last video have given me a super thanks. So you can find that super thanks button down near the like button under the video if you feel you can do the same thing for me. Just watching my videos all the way through is a big help too, and also liking and commenting. So there are some free options for you to support me. Thank you very much. Let's get into it.
Okay, at first glance both of these designs look the same, but if you look a little bit more closely, the one on the right, the lettering is distorted in a different way. The L is fatter here, the bottom of the E is fatter, over here the P is fatter. So these words look like they're leaning or going off into the distance, and this one in the opposite direction, and joy in the same direction as the piece. That's because these words were created using elastic lettering. Over on the left, I've used the envelope tool in Art Canvas to create the shapes of the lettering, and personally I think it's a slightly more pleasing effect for this particular example. So I'm going to show you how to do this. I'll just show you first the limitations of the elastic lettering, because that's why I couldn't get them to look the same. Elastic lettering is wonderful in our software, but it is limited. So let's just zoom out and create some elastic lettering. So we'll use the word piece. Now, what you do for elastic lettering is create your lettering first. So right click on your lettering tab, type in your word, choose your font. Now I've used Comic Sans MS. Now I don't know if you have that on your computer. But if you haven't, you can download it from here. So I'll just bring up my web browser. So the website is www.911fonts.com. Font download Comic Sans MS Regular. So there's the name of the font there. So if you Google it, you'll be able to download it for free. And then you install it onto your computer, and then when you open your software, that font will be available. But it is a Microsoft font, so you most likely have it. I've installed other fonts, so I don't know anymore whether that font was with Corel or whether I've downloaded it separately or what. So there's where you get it if you need it. Okay, I can close that now. Now I've created my font. I'm not too worried about the size. I'll just go with the defaults and go OK. Now if you're going to create more than one word, let me just give you a hint. Just go apply and then click where you want your word to come. I think I'll just change the colour to green there while I can. And then if you want to create another word, click off so that word is not selected, and you can type in your next word. And I'm going to change the colour to red for that one. And, oh, I've lost my word. So obviously you have to set the colour first, then type in your word, and then again you can go apply. If you're going to make another word, I'll just go OK this time. If you go OK, you see the box disappears, and so you have to reopen it. But if you just go apply and create the word, and you can then create the next word. Okay, so I've got two words here. Now I'll select the word piece. And to apply elastic lettering, you go up to the very top menu in Edit, and if you come down you'll find elastic lettering. Now if you look closely, we've only got 4 options: straight, curved, perspective or diamond. I had to use perspective. This is why. Let me show you the straight one first. Okay, so with straight you can only move the corner nodes to create your shape. It looks very much like perspective if I go like this, but I can't move those corner nodes sideways no matter how hard I drag. I can only move them up and down. So therefore I couldn't get this slant on the piece to replicate the side of the tree shape. Alright, now with no L, if you click on the next one while you're still in the elastic lettering, it'll go to the reshape tool. So I'm just going back to select and then edit, elastic lettering. Curved, well obviously we don't want that, but you can play around with these different types of elastic lettering if you like, but I'll show you. And diamond, couldn't use that one either, so I've used perspective. So now with perspective I can actually move these nodes in any direction I want. So I was able to create the shape that I needed for my tree. Let me bring that down straight. Okay, so in fact I started small and went to big. With this one I've gone big to small, but you get the general idea. That's how elastic lettering works. So it's lots of fun to play with and quick and easy, but as I said, it is limited in the shapes you can transform your lettering into. Of course I had to have a tree shape as well, and to shape my lettering into, and I did that in Art Canvas as well. So let's start a new document in Art Canvas and show you exactly how I created the whole design. So we'll create a new document, a new design first, and we'll go through to Art Canvas. And I've got a few things open. Here we go. Alright, so first of all I needed the tree shape. So I'll just get my page centered here. There we go. And to do that I used the Smart Drawing tool. So in your tools on the left hand side, you've got, just below the reshape tool, you've got a set of drawing tools. I've been playing around so my pen is showing, but if we go to the flyout menu, we've got our freehand drawer, our artistic media, our pen and our smart drawing. So I want a nice triangle, so I'm going to use the Smart Drawing tool, and I'm just going to draw a triangle really roughly. I'm not even going to join it. And you can see the software worked out that yes, I did indeed want a triangle with a closed shape. So it's a very quick way to get a triangle. Now it's not exactly the way I want it, so I'm going to select it with go back to the selection tool and then go to the reshape tool. And with triangles we've got 3 nodes, 1 on each corner. So I'm just straightening up the bottom. Doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, and then I'm going to make it taller and try and center that. Now as I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. You could put a grid on and you could get this to be exactly perfect. You could bring guidelines in to make sure the bottom was straight. Oh, I did that quite well actually. And another guideline to center that, so that when you go to your reshape tool, you can get that centered. I've got snap to something on, and so it's not letting me get it exactly, but really in the scheme of things that's close enough. So selection, I'll get rid of those guidelines. Oh, good. And I'm going to select that triangle and move it down a bit. There we go. Alright, so there's my basic tree shape. Now I'm going to get the pen tool and I'm going to cut that tree shape with just some straight lines to across the tree to put roughly where I want the words. So I'm just going to left click there and left click on the other side, and you've still got your pen attached, so you need to say click on enter to complete the line, and then another one going the other direction and enter, and another one going the other direction and enter. So 3 simple lines. Now you can move these if you're not happy with where they ended up or the angle of them, so I'll just show you that quickly. So I've got my select tool and I'm going to select this bottom one, so when I see my 4 nodes I can adjust where I want to put that. Then I can adjust this one by left clicking on it and wait till I get the 4-headed arrow to move it. Now if you need to rotate, just click on it again, your rotation handles will appear, and you can move that rotation, point of rotation, to anywhere you like. So if I like this end here but I want to move this end, actually I want to do it the other way, so I'll move that point of rotation up there. I like this end, so I want to move this end, so I'm leaving that point of rotation there, and I can rotate around that point of rotation. So you can adjust those lines. I'm going to undo because I was quite happy with the actual angle of that, but I just want to bring it down a bit. Okay, so now I've divided up my tree. I want to create individual objects that are the shapes in the middle. I could trace around each of those areas. I could do things like weld and cut with my vector lines and all sorts of things, but there's a really great tool in the software that will create a shape, the individual shapes in here for me so easily it's not funny. So let's investigate that tool. Now it's not available in Art Canvas automatically, but it is in Corel Draw. So the easiest way to access it is to come up here to your toolbar, and anywhere on the grey area, so if you're using an earlier version or the Essentials version, there's a bit of white over here. That won't work. You have to be on the grey area. Right click and put a check next to Toolbox. Now that only happens temporarily, so if you close the software and reopen the software, that toolbox won't be there anymore. You'll have to reopen it. But what that does is open all the Corel tools just as they would appear in the Corel standalone product. Now, I'll click off so nothing's selected. So if you've got version 8.1 or the latest update to version 8, you will have Corel SE, and the smart drawing tool that we need, the smart fill tool, is right down the bottom of the tools of the Corel tools, right here. If you have Essentials or version 7, which is also Essentials, you will find it, I think it's in the freehand tool. I'm not sure, it's in one of these other flyout menus. I'm pretty sure it's the freehand tool, but it could be one of the others. It's not intuitive, but just click on those till you find the smart fill tool and select it, and that's what all we need. Now when you get the smart fill tool, you'll get your fill options up here. For this, you can actually change the color of the fill here, and you can decide whether you want an outline or not. For this particular exercise, I don't care what the color is, so whatever the default color is up here, just leave it. Outline, we don't want an outline, so we're going to go no outline. Again, you could have selected the colour of the outline there if you wanted an outline for this shape. So if you want to create shapes from other things, other drawings that have been overlapped like this, you can, and you can decide whether you want an outline or not. Now this tool is going to create a new object altogether, not just fill the holes here, but actually create a new object. So let's, without any further ado, just left click in the area we want, and we want each of these individual areas. So just to demonstrate that they are actual new objects, first of all, if you have your object manager open in the Dockers over here, you will see some new curves representing those 4 objects we just created. Also, if you select the object, you can actually move it, and as you can see, it's a completely separate object. Your original drawing's still there. All these objects are separate. So it's a really fun tool to use. You can create shapes, you can do all sorts of things. Alright, now we need our lettering. We need to create the 3 words that we want. I'll just put these back roughly. It doesn't matter where they are for this exercise, but I'm just so that we know where they are in the tree roughly. Okay, so we'll create our words. Now, once you've opened this Corel toolbox, it's better to use the actual Corel tools than to swap backwards and forwards. Even though the lettering tool is available here in your Art Canvas tools, you're better off using these tools, otherwise you might get a few little hiccups. So I'm going to left click on the lettering tool. Now I'm going to choose my font, and remember we used the Comic Sans before, so I'm going to choose that. I've been using it, so it's up the top here in my recently used fonts. So you can scroll down till you find it. I'll select it. Now, if you're changing the font before you create the lettering, you'll get this change document defaults, and it's asking you lettering is artistic text, and so it's asking you if you want to change the default for this document, which means every bit of lettering you create from now on will be the font you choose now. If you only want to change the font in one word, then create the lettering, select it, and then change the font, and you won't get this box and you won't get a permanent change to that font. But I'm going to only use that font in this document, so I'm going to go OK. And so that has actually set my Comic Sans font up here. Now the size doesn't matter, but I'm going to make it fairly large so that you can see it quite well. And again, I've got that warning there that I'm changing it for the whole document. So then just left click where you want to type your words. So we need the 3 words, and they have to be created individually. So we'll start with peace, and don't hit enter because that will just act as a return like on your keyboard. So you need to go off the lettering to the select tool, and in this case use the Corel select tool. Click off so nothing's selected, then get your lettering tool again to create your next word. And again, just go to select and back to lettering. Select, click off so nothing's selected, and then back to lettering to create your 3rd word. Okay, now get your select key. Now remember, joy was at the top and it was green, and to change a fill in anything, you just left click on the colour in the colour bar on the right. So I'm turning the word joy into green. If I look down the bottom here, I can see there is no outline. If there had have been an outline, I could have right clicked on the X here at the top of the colour bar to remove the outline. So right click works for the outline, left click works for the fill. Alright, so now I'm going to select the word peace and make that green as well. And I'm going to select the word Noel and make that red. Now we need the envelope tool, and that is located in the drop shadow flyout menu. Now if that's not there in the Essentials version, it's here somewhere, so again just open up the flyout menus till you find it, but I'm pretty sure they're all in the drop shadow flyout menu. So you've got drop shadow, contour, blend, distort, and envelope. So we're going to choose envelope. Oh, there was extrude as well, and your cursor will change. Now we also need, you'll see the tools up here change for envelope. Let me just click on piece, and we want to make it this shape here, the bottom shape, you see the selection just goes to there. We need some way of telling the software that we want piece that shape. I'll go back to the word piece if I can get on it. There we go. And for some reason, the little eyedropper that appears in the Docker doesn't appear up here. If I hit the plus, to add more tools, I still can't see the eyedropper. So I'll just click off there. So what we need to do is open the Docker. Now to open the Docker, you just go Window, Dockers, and if you come down here, you should find the Effects section, and then under there you'll find the envelope. Put a check mark next to that, and then it will appear in your Dockers down the right hand side here. You can also add the Docker by clicking on the plus at the bottom of the Dockers options here, and you'll get a list of Dockers that you can add. But I've already got it there, so I'm going to just get it. As they come down, they are compressed to just an icon, because obviously you can't fit hundreds of Dockers here. So if you've got lots of Dockers, you might find it just a little icon representing that Docker. When you open that Docker, as you can see, these sort of tools are also up here. I'm not changing anything in here, just going with all the defaults. But what I want to do is get this eyedropper, because I need that to select the shape I want to envelope the word to. So we've already used the envelope tool to select the word piece, and now we've got this little black arrow. I'm going to click on the shape that I want to envelope the word to. So I left click on there, and the word will automatically take on that shape. So I'll go to the select tool and move that up a bit out of the way for the moment. Now the word Noel, I'm going to select that. I'm going to get my envelope tool, which is now there because I selected it from the fly up menu before, and get my eyedropper and select the area I want to use for the word Noel. There we go. Now I'll select that, click off, select the word joy, get the envelope tool and get the eyedropper and select the area I want for the word joy. So wasn't that easy? I've shaped those three words in to the correct shapes for the tree.
Now in version 9 you'll see there's actually no eyedropper there. There is this icon here which is actually you can do exactly the same thing with it. So it's basically telling you to make an envelope the shape of an object. It should actually come up with a little words to that effect, but it's just not happening for me right now. You'll notice also that you get all these preset shapes in version 9. You can still add new if you want to. I don't know whether I just added that or not because I had Noel selected. I don't think I did, but I have to look into that a bit more, how this actually works. But you've got all these preset shapes you can use if you want to. And we've got that same icon is up here. So you don't need to open the Docker in version 9. You can just use it from up here. So if I was to choose the word piece, let's choose the word piece, it's selected, then I can come up here to create envelope from is the name of the icon. It creates an envelope that is based on the shape of another object. So select that. That will change your cursor to the arrow just as what happened with the eyedropper in version 8, and you can come to a shape and select it, and that will change the envelope shape to the shape you chose, just the same as in version 8, except you've got a different icon. Now I did look at the video that I did for version 8, and it appears this icon is in version 8 as well, so you may not need to open the Docker even for version 8. So that's just a little heads up and how you do it in version 9.
Select it, click off. We no longer need these shapes that we use to create the words, so we can delete those. And if we go to our object manager, we can select them in there, all 4, and hit the delete button. Okay. Now the star on the top. While the envelope tool is not restricted to lettering, unlike the elastic lettering tool in the embroidery canvas, this shape I didn't really get a good star using this shape. Let me just quickly show you. So unfortunately, of course, I deleted that top shape, so I'll need to recreate that again. So I'll get my Smart Fill tool and fill that. Now I've got a shape. Now to create a star, that's in under your drawing tools, but now remember we've got our Corel tools open, so we need to come down here, and the basic shapes tool will give us the star. And if we hold our control key down, that will constrain the proportions and draw a star. Now how many points you get in the star will depend on what you've got set up the top here. I'm going to use a 5-point star. Okay, now I want a fill and no outline, so I'm going to left click on the fill and right click on the outline, and I wanted that shape, so I'm going to get my envelope tool, I'm going to get my eyedropper from the Docker and choose that shape. And as you can see, it's not particularly pretty. It's difficult to recognize it's a star because of the way it's been shaped. So this tool can be useful, depending on the shape you're using and the object that you are shaping. In this particular case, it didn't work all that well, but just note that you can do it with objects other than lettering. You can envelope them into shapes, and so that'll be lots of fun for you to play with. So instead, I'm just going to select that and undo, actually would be the easiest way, so that I've just got my star, and I'll just leave that where it is at the moment. Doesn't matter what size it is just now. Or actually I could, if I get rid of this top option there, I can delete that now. If I put these objects in place, so let's select the word piece and put it in place. Now if you've got some snap 2s on, you might not be able to get it exactly right, so just go back in and uncheck your snap options so that you can get this placed exactly where you want it. I think that I'm happy with that. Okay, and so I'm going to take my Noel and move that. Just a bit to the left, so I can use my nudge, my left arrow key on my keyboard. Okay, and my word joy. Bit to the right. Just till you're happy with the positioning. Now we can select the star and move that into position, and we can scale that to look good. So select it and scale it down, and I'm going to line the point of the star up with the point of the triangle, so I'm going to zoom into that spot and that much pretty much in place. It's still a bit big as far as I can tell, so I'm going to go a bit smaller. I'm happy with that. So I think that's better than enveloping the star. Now for the tub at the bottom. While we could digitize that with the closed object in the embroidery software because it's a fairly simple shape, I'd like to show you a little trick to get things symmetrical on both sides. With this particular shape it's not so hard, but if you have a more intricate shape you might like to know a little trick that allows you to make an object which is exactly symmetrical on both sides. So I'm going to zoom into this area at the bottom of the tree here, and I'm going to turn on my grid. So I need to go to View, Grid, Document Grid, and you'll see lots of little lines here. My grid's fairly fine. I've got my grid set at, and you can find this in the Tools options. If you go to the document options, you can find grid.
In version 9, the document options, the grid options are in a slightly different place. So you can either click on the settings wheel or the tools and options, and you need to go to Corel Draw. So click on that, and then you'll see a little page here up in the top right. When you click on that, then you will have your grid option here. So your document options, you have to go into the Corel Draw options, and then you'll be able to access the document options. Okay.
And you can lay it out. It's actually defaulted to 4 grid lines per millimetre. That's a lot. So I'm going to make that 1 grid line per millimetre, and go OK. So what we need now for this is just our pen tool. So I've got my freehand drawing tool here. You've got the pen option there, so just grab that pen tool because we're drawing nice straight lines. Now what we're going to do is draw half of the tub. So I'm zooming in even further, and I'm not too worried where it's positioned just yet. So I'm just finding I need to have snap to grid on. So that's under edit, no, view, snap to grid, document grid. So I'm going to check that, and now you can see whenever I get to a crosshair of the grid, I get the little word grid appear. So I'm just going to left click when I see that word, and then I'm going to go do the left hand side first. So I'm going to go out a fair way, left click. Now I'm still attached, so I can come down and I can get a nice slope on here that I think would be nice for the side of the tub. When I see the word grid, I can left click, continue across, keeping the line straight until I'm directly below the first click I made. So I need to come down this line and left click and then up. Now it's really important that this line be vertical. If you have trouble seeing, you can bring a guideline across. So just left click in the left hand ruler and bring your guideline across so that you can follow that when you're clicking. You can click here, then when you get round to here, you know you have to click on that guideline again. Okay, I don't need that, so I'm going to remove it. I'll get my select key. I can select the guideline and get rid of it. Okay, now I've got my shape here for half of my tub. I'm going to fill it with red. Oh, I need to select it first because it's coming up with this. So get my select tool, select it, fill it with red, and remove the outline. Now I want a duplicate of that on the other side exactly aligned. So all I need to do is go Control D on my keyboard, and that's made a duplicate copy on top. Now I'll get my select key, and I've got my handles around that duplicate copy. If I hold my control key down and grab this left hand handle and drag it across, you will see a mirror image of the object appear, and it's lined up exactly with the first object. So then you can let go your mouse and then let go your control. You may see a very faint line down the middle here where the two meet. Don't worry about that. Zoom out a little bit, then box select both objects, and up the top here you'll find an option to world. So just left click on that, and that will make that one object. Now if you don't like how deep it is, you can make it a little bit deeper just by pulling down the handles. Okay, we don't need to align these just yet. It'll be easier to do that in embroidery canvas, to align the tub with the star, because I don't want the star to move. So I'll show you how to do that in embroidery canvas. We don't need the grid anymore, so we can go view, grid, document grid, and uncheck that. We don't need the framework for the tree anymore, and that's really easily selected in the object manager docker because it's the first 4 objects we created and they'll be at the bottom. So just select those and delete, and now we can actually just convert this to an embroidery. So just select the whole lot and click on your convert, and you'll go through to the embroidery canvas, and there's all your embroidery ready to go. Except we're going to do a little bit of fine tuning. As I said, we're going to line this tub up with the star, and I'm going to change the fill in the tub as well. So click off so nothing's selected, select the tub, and then left click and drag, and you'll see the crosshairs for the tub, and you can line that up with the center of the star, and that just happens to be 0 on my ruler as well, because the design seems to have centered, but it may not be for you. So the important thing is that that vertical grid line that's going with the tub is actually going through the middle of the top of the point of the star. We could have used our alignment tools, but this way we don't have to work out which one we have to click on first to make sure the star doesn't move. So that's got that aligned. Now while we're there, it looks a bit boring just in fill stitch, so let's give it a fancy fill, and we'll just go with the default diamond one. I think that looks quite pretty. Now if we zoom in on that, not too far, we can see that it's not quite centered. Oops, I'll undo, I just accidentally moved it. The actual pattern is not quite centered on the basket. It's a little bit over to the left, so this center diamond here is not quite lined up with the center of the design. So we can easily fix that by right clicking and going to the object properties. It's got an angle of 90 degrees, which is what I want. I want to keep that angle, but we need to go to the fill stitch, and we need to, I'll just bring this over a bit, we need to click on layout, and we'll get our layout grid here. Now let's zoom in really closely. The one that's got the handles around it, we can move that to reposition the actual pattern. So I want to center that up with the tub center. Now I haven't got a grid or anything on to do this. I am doing it by eye, but I think that will get us close enough. So we knew it was a bit over to the left, we have to come a bit to the right. Let's have a look at that. You can tell by the way the ones either side are being cut off at the ends. So we've got a tiny little bit of the point sticking out on this side. I've got a little bit more sticking out on that side, so I've gone probably a little bit too far. So I'm just going to go back a fraction, and how do I like this pattern up the top? Let's move. It's pretty much where I want it at the top here. I quite like the way these just touch the top of the tub, but we'll move it up so that we can actually set that down a bit, down a bit more. That's pretty good. Okay, then when you're happy with the positioning, go hit enter, and that will reposition the design. Now that's pretty much centered on the tub, so I'm okay with that. So I can exit out of my object properties, zoom out. Now of course you can do whatever you like with that. You can rearrange the stitching so that your colour blocks stitch out in a logical order, so we could have the red all at the top, and that will give us our only 3 colour changes then, because our green's together now as well. You can check your start and end points, you can fiddle around with the underlay if you so desire, and you can change your fabric settings if you're going to sew this on something other than a normal woven medium weight fabric.